So this film has a lot of stuff I think people want in a movie. You know, it's got a cute dog in it. It's got a man on a mission, and it's got Nazis getting their heads blown off. It's So Sisu is a brand new movie that's out this weekend that has been getting a lot of great play in theaters, you know, for all the trailers and stuff because it's made by the producers of the John Wick franchise, and the trailers very much so lean heavily into that aspect of it, like the brutal murdering of Nazis. They even use one of the critic quotes saying, you know, it's a I forget the exact quote, but you know, Nazi killing good time, pretty much. And you know what, this is one of those fun. I want to say modern day kind of B movies, and when I say a B movie, I mean it's lower budget, and it's a lot of actors you haven't heard of before, and you know it's just a smaller scale story that's very self-contained, and it's you know something I appreciate when I go to the theaters. It doesn't always have to be the big bombastic stuff. It could be this smaller stuff. And in the story of this film, it's about a man who is a gold miner. He finds some gold, but the nearest bank is like 400 miles away or whatever, and he's got to trek through the country that's been ravaged by the Nazis, and the Nazis are scorching earth pretty much on their way out at this point in World War II. And he comes across a troop of Nazis, and that's where you get your story. He's got to essentially take on this group of Nazis and try to get his gold to the bank at the end of the movie. And along the way, Nazi heads will roll, and I think a lot of people appreciate it for that. The dude sitting next to me at the theater greatly appreciated that. He loved every bloody second of the Nazi murdering, and I don't blame him. It's a lot of fun. This movie's got a lot of good stuff going for it. Is it perfect? By no means. I do have some problems with it. We'll talk about those in a second. But what works in this is I actually do think the lead, whose name I apologize escapes me. It'll probably be right here on the screen. He's like the man with no, kind of a man with no name. He's a guy who doesn't even talk for the movie. He's a man of action, and there's this kind of legend that builds around him as you find out more about him. That he was a former military man who is essentially known as a one-man death squad. So they picked the wrong dude to screw with, kind of like John Wick. And I do like this. I kind of compare this film a little bit. It's like a mix of John Wick and a mix of Inglourious Basterds, kind of mixed together, and it's a good combination, I think. And a lot of that stuff really works really well. The pacing is lightning quick. The film is segmented in, I believe, 5 or 6 chapters. So it's like chapter 1, chapter 2, and they big bold on the screen. You know when you're in these different segments of the film, and it moves. It moves at a clip. Maybe it starts off that first chapter a little slowly, but once things after that, it just rolls, and I don't think it lets go. But it's not as balls to the wall action as you might expect. But there's nothing wrong with that either. I think there's a lot of cool stuff they decided to do here. The Nazi killing is super well done, super fun. And they set up a lot of great scenes where you're like, how the heck is this guy going to get out of this? And then, he, through his sheer will and determination, gets out of it in some of the most ridiculous ways I've ever seen. There's a scene in particular when he's underwater and he takes out a Nazi dude. And how he gets his air, it blew my mind. It was ridiculous, but it was so fun at the same time. The villain of this film, again, another actor whose name I don't know, but the main guy, he kind of has that look of Mads Mikkelsen to him. He's a great bad guy. A little one note, not a whole lot of depth to these characters in this film, but that's fine. You can kind of forgive that. I think a lot of the filmmaking is actually really well done. It hides a lot of the flaws. With this being a smaller movie, there were definitely times where you could feel like maybe the special effects weren't, going to be the greatest special effects. So they found workarounds to kind of mask a lot of that stuff. And unless you're really looking out for that sort of stuff, like I kind of do sometimes, or just if I get a hint of it, I kind of keep an extra eye out for it. But the direction here does a really good job at masking a lot of the deficiencies of this film. And I think, a lot of people appreciate it and not even realize that what they were trying to do. Because there were certain times, there was even some fight scenes later on that you could kind of tell, like they did really close up, quick cuts to kind of mask the fact that they probably didn't have a great choreographer for a fight. There's some great stuff at the beginning of the film of him, and you've seen it in the trailers that they choreograph really well. But there is, at the end, it kind of peters out, and I don't think the choreography is as strong. And I guess that's some of my negatives, is when you notice some of these flaws, it does kind of bug me a little bit. Like, we could go with, sure, maybe the special effects, don't look like a $200 million budget film would look, but, there were just times where I feel like they use the CGI blood. That's one of my biggest pet peeves watching movies, is the CGI blood. I get it; it's easier to control, and it doesn't cause havoc on set. You can plan around it and purposely do what you will with it so that you can get the shot you need and move on. But there are times where they use the fake blood, and it's like, okay, it doesn't really hit as hard as when you see special effects of like the main character working on himself, after getting injured, and stitching himself up. Like, that sort of visceral stuff, like that is like really good special effects, made you kind of queasy and kind of squirm in your seat. That's the kind of stuff that worked, and they do that a little bit, and you get a little bit of the fake blood there. The sets aren't a whole lot. It's like they filmed out in a big barren wasteland, so there's not much to the sets. They had a couple little set pieces which were kind of nice and well done, but for the most part, though, I think people are going to go in not looking for a lot of stuff I'm kind of looking at, and I won't say nitpicking, but some of the stuff I just noticed. I do think at a point that because the story is so simple, and because, the big ask, or the big selling point of this movie is this John Wick-esque action movie, and all the action stuff, for the most part, delivers. It's fewer and far between than you might expect, in my opinion. And there's not like a lot of whole great character stuff to keep, when that's not happening, keep you interested. I mean, it's interesting, and it's such a quick run time that you might not even think about it. I think for a lot of people, they'll dig it. I still enjoy this movie despite all those flaws with it. And at the end of the thing, I was smiling, I was happy. So yeah, at the end of the day, I'm gonna give this film a solid B. I had really high hopes. So I don't know if I set my own expectations a little too high. Maybe I should have saw in the trailers that this wasn't going to be what I thought it was going to be, or at least walk it back a little bit. I probably should walk back my expectations a little more going into films, but this is still a great time. I implore people to go check this out. It's a ball of fun. There were a couple of groups of fellas in the theater with us when we saw this film, and they all seemed to have a good time. It's not the kind of movie where you have to, be quiet, we don't want to miss a line of dialogue. No, it's a fun, like, you take you have a beer, you take your buddies, and you just kick back, and then you laugh your butt off at killing Nazis in several different fun, creative ways. And there's definitely some stuff that's not even in the trailer that I really dug in this film that I really can't wait to talk about with other people. So yeah, please go out and see this. It's very enjoyable. Not the perfect movie that I thought it was going to be by any means, but hey, it is what it is, and it's just another solid film to add to the 2023 list of films. So, what do you guys think? Have you any desire to go see Sisu this weekend? What's your favorite Nazi killing movie? There's a good question. If you guys could also hit that like button, subscribe button, little bell notification, be notified whenever I drop new videos, it would be greatly appreciated. And until the next review, guys, and there's a bunch of smaller stuff coming out this week. I'm going to have to try to see. It's getting a little overwhelming. There's so much good stuff coming out that I want to see. So until the next review, guys, I'll be seeing you.